Hey. Hey. Like, shut it already. Okay, like, it's time to start or whatever. So, turn off your phone and log out of your dating app and power down that AI robot you're using to cheat on your term paper. The fire code says you can't blaze up your weed in here, and you have to keep your hands to yourself. So, like, no walking up on stage and slapping anybody. Sorry for all the rules, but, like, deal with it, Will Smith. So this guy's gonna come out and talk about some junk, and there might be a test on it later, so try not to zone. I guess he does a bunch of stuff or something, so here he is. The Chief Creative Officer for Madoff Group, Scott Greggory.
By the year 2250, at least 93% of you will be dead. I know. Look to your left, look to your right, looking back, look in front, dead. You, though, are going to be fine. You're going to be 249 years old, but yeah, you're going to be fine, primarily because of what you're going to learn in today's presentation. So you may want to commit some of this junk to memory, because it may save your life one day, or at least help you kill about an hour. Today we're going to talk about using creativity and humor to present yourself and your work to potential employers, buyers, and other audiences. Anyone here use Facebook or have used Facebook in the past? All right. If you do, or if you have, you know that Facebook reminds you if it's a friend's or family member's birthday that day. The app does that work for you. It used to be that you might keep your friends' birthdays listed in a calendar, a book, scribbled on your leg, something like that. Week before each birthday, you'd go buy yourself a card and write a message inside, put that thing in an envelope, send it off to the birthday person. You might even go really nuts and buy the person a gift, like an ugly coffee mug or something like that, or maybe a candle that smells like an ugly coffee mug. But for many years now, Facebook has been reminding us that our friends and loved ones are having a special day. So we really don't have to do much of anything except click that link and write on our friend's timeline. And yet, as quick and easy as that is these days, most people choose to write just happy birthday. Check anyone's timeline on their actual birthday, and you'll see it over and over again. Happy birthday, have a happy birthday. It's literally the same thing that dozens and hundreds of other people are writing in the same space at the same time. So it's not surprising that that message of happy birthday doesn't leave much of an impression. It doesn't feel special to the recipient in any way, because it's just one of 100 others. Now, I realize that most people don't consider a social media post as a chance to express themselves creatively. But I think it is. At least it's the start of an opportunity. Most people don't recognize all the chances for creativity they have in a single day, let alone throughout their lives. But something as simple as changing how you wish your friends a happy birthday might change how often you see other opportunities for creative expression. If you look at that Facebook birthday environment as sort of a microcosm of the real world, you're going to see that most people make no effort to express themselves creatively, to leave their unique imprint on a situation, even in little ways. But as it's been said many times, it's the little things that matter. It's consistent little efforts that can have a long-lasting cumulative effect. And that applies to branding a company. It applies to you as you network and build your personal brand. And if you choose to approach your job search and your communication a little bit differently than most people, if you have the courage to be unique, I can all but guarantee you that your effort is going to help you stand out. It's going to be a competitive advantage. Now, that, of course, doesn't mean you're going to get every job that you apply for. There are many variables, of course, that a company considers, from work history and skills and attitude and work ethic, all those things. But all of those things being equal, I'm taking the person who expresses ideas in a funny way. I want the person who has the intelligence to dissect any situation and then figure out how to apply humor to that, how to express that humor. Some people fear that taking a humorous approach to their personal marketing or their job search means that employers won't take them seriously. And yes, obviously, there are certain industries and professions that might not appreciate anything other than a straightforward approach to communication. But here's how I look at it. I work in a creative field, as many of you hope to. And I've interviewed and hired people for decades. And I absolutely want applicants to show me what they've got in terms of personality, in terms of their sense of humor and creativity, as soon as they can, not if they get the job, not in case they get the job. I want them to be bold and understand that if they want to work for our marketing agency, they've got to know how to make an impression, how to get an audience's attention, and deliver a valuable message. So to just write happy birthday on someone's Facebook timeline requires no real effort, no imagination, no caring. But when it's clear to an employer that you've invested time and care and effort and creativity into how you present yourself to them, I think the smartest employers will see that you go above and beyond. They'll see your work ethic, your creative thinking, maybe even your problem-solving skills. And not just because you claimed all those things on a resume or during an interview, but because you led with them, you put them into action. You showed that you value a creative approach to your work. To me and to many other employers, that speaks volumes. And it can help people take you very seriously as a creative professional. So during our time together today, I'm going to share some samples of what I hope is humorous work to give you an idea of what I'm talking about up here and to at least suggest, if not prove, that I've been applying humor in my personal life and professional situations forever. So before we get too far away from that Facebook idea, I want to show you a few birthday graphics that I've created for friends over the years. Now for a little context. I was born in the Cleveland area just a few months before the Kennedy assassination, so there's no way I pulled the trigger. But I grew up a big fan of Cleveland radio, decided about age 10 or 12 that I wanted to work in radio and or television. Went to Bowling Green State University in the early 80s, specifically because of their broadcasting program and the facilities they had there. Started working in Toledo radio by age of 19, worked at 2 Toledo stations during my college years. Ended up working in radio for about 12 years. 1993, I joined the marketing agency that would eventually evolve into Mad Ave Group, and there are 6 specialty agencies under the Mad Ave Group umbrella. And as the chief creative officer there, I'm primarily concerned with the written content that our agencies produce, but I'm also a voice talent, audio video producer, work on special creative projects as well. So when I talk about interviewing and hiring people, I'm talking about writers, voice talent primarily, but also I've input on video producers and recording engineers and marketing managers that we hire. And over the years, I have noticed that most people approach their job search, their personal marketing, in the same kind of bland way. Most people don't make a unique effort to differentiate themselves as job candidates. Heck, a lot of companies do a bad job of that. A lot of companies are too fearful or maybe even too lazy to approach their marketing in a brighter way. But think about it. Do you really want to be one of 100 people when you walk out of a job interview, or worse yet, forgotten as soon as you leave? So whether you're trying to land a job with a company, or trying to book your band into a club, trying to sell your art online, you need to put yourself in the shoes of your target audience and ask yourself, what would make me memorable in the eyes of my audience? First, you have to keep some of these basics in mind. These aren't particularly sexy or creative, but they are foundational, so they are important. Number 1, know why you want to work with that company before you ever even apply to that company. What is it about what they do and how they do it that appeals to you so much. What makes them so attractive that you might move to another city or halfway across the country? Why do you want to work for them specifically as opposed to one of their competitors? Believe me, the people interviewing you will want to know those things because they've likely invested a lot of time, effort, money to attract and then to hire the right people for that job. Not just people who want a job, but people who want to be there with their company. Number 2, research the company you're applying to. Read the website, read the social pages, plus the LinkedIn and pages and the bios, online bios of the people you're going to be meeting with. If you don't know those names and titles, please ask for that information before you meet. And 3, have a good idea of what you might bring to that company. What needs or weaknesses have you identified that you might be able to help with? Or the flip side of that, how can you add to their strengths? If you can shine in those 3 areas, you probably have a nice head start. A few other important ideas too. Email the day before your interview to confirm the time of your interview. Make sure everybody's still going to be there. The time and the place is still correct. You want to show up, of course, early to that interview. Firm handshakes all the way around, good eye contact, and this is one of my personal things, a handwritten thank you note to everyone you interviewed with that day. Send it right away, not next week, but that same day, so people are more likely to connect that note with you. You got to remember, they're probably talking to a lot of people. Many of those tips I realize seem basic, but so few people execute those well, so please make sure you do. All right, let's take a quick break for our 3-day forecast. Now here is Lou Sleet.
Thanks, Scott. Well, I can't guarantee this, but after the sun sets tonight, I expect the temperature to go down. Then Friday, there's a 10% chance the sky will split open to reveal a terrifying colony of giant snakes that's been up there this whole time. High of 46. Friday night, it'll be dark, so who knows what'll be going on out there. I have heard talk, though, of an impending rupture in the giant steel cable that binds the Earth to the sun. If it snaps, the planet will drift out of its orbit, and we'd be in for a very bad weekend. Also, there's a chance of rain. Saturday, look for the summer fires to start about 3 months early. It'll be terrifying, but Sunday looks nice, sunny with a high of 51. That's your 3-day forecast. I'm Lou Sleet.
Thank you, Lou. Now, you may be wondering, how can I introduce creativity or humor into my promotion, my self-promotion? I always recommend using testimonials in resumes, cover letters, websites, absolutely. There is great power in letting other people speak for you, whether it's past employers, people you volunteered for, satisfied freelance clients. But you could always inject humor by using obviously fake reviews, such as this one. Scott Greggory isn't a complete disaster, close but not complete, Donald Trump. Scott is probably my favorite copywriter, Jesus, hashtag yeah, that Jesus. And listening to Scott's voiceover produces in me continual waves of intense pleasure that I never experienced while fully present on Earth. That, of course, is the ghost of Betty White. You could also add humor to that handwritten card that you're going to send, maybe something like this. Dear Jim, thank you for the chance to meet with you and your team on Monday. Everyone was so very nice. I was glad I wore my best pair of socks to the interview. I'm hoping we can talk about the position soon. Until then, I'll be washing and hot waxing your car each day free of charge, just in case that helps you with your decision. Scott. But you may want to avoid wearing certain types of funny t-shirts to an interview. There are endless opportunities to infuse your personal brand with creativity and humor. Think of all the touch points you have, whether it's your website, again, your social channels, emails, text, advertising. It's important to create content that people will be surprised by, delighted by. People may even share that content. That's a wonderful situation. I certainly want to do that when I'm creating work for my clients and for our agency, and I've got a sample for you. This is part of a 4-video campaign that we did for a company called Binkelman. They're based in Bowling Green, and they sell industrial parts and supplies like bearings and conveyor belting. I wrote this and provided the voiceover, and they wanted video with kind of the same kind of attitude and approach that we use for their on-hold marketing, and this is that video.
When Binkelman was founded in 1946, we made prosthetic leather nipples. I don't know what they were used for, but they were pretty hot.
Today, Binkelman is a total solutions parts distributor that serves many industries. mining, glass, automotive,
energy, agricultural, steel manufacturing,
rubber novelties, processed meats, prison uniform,
TV antennas, recreational whips, wagon wheels, and donkey saddles.
Yep, we cover a lot of ground.
But Binkelman's focus is on people, just not ugly people.
One of the main reasons why we do so well with our customers and for our customers is because of the people that we have here.
We invest in our people, and because of that, our people are more knowledgeable than our competitors.
Sure, some of the molding on our walls is jacked up, but over the years, we've learned to look past that and focus on you.
We have great relationships with our customers, with inside sales, with outside sales, with our driver, with operations. We have that trust factor. They call us, we know who they are, they know that we will do everything we can to get them what they need.
Yes, even if it means touching a greasy wheel.
We've done a good job of putting the right people in the right positions, which is very important.
And each day, we allow them time to look at the ceiling.
It's personal for us to where our customers become our friends, and we really care about what the process is rather than just the product that we're supplying.
Our standard approach is pretty much anything at any time. Customers have to run typically 24/7. So when they go down, they lose production, they can't run, and that's where we come in, whether it's ordering parts, pulling parts from our shelf, fabricating something in an emergency. But at the end of the day, our goal is to keep customers up, and that's why they come back to us.
Binkelman, contact us today and ask about Meatloaf Monday.
So that's a slightly different approach to a typical corporate video, and we got a lot of nice comments about that piece, including this: love it, great video, we need more creative work like this. I love this period. And also, what a fantastic corporate video, taking something that could potentially be stale to listen to and making it fun, not to mention memorable, is genius. That is a common theme in a lot of our testimonials. We're taking the situations that people don't necessarily want to be a part of, a channel or an environment, trying to elevate it and make people enjoy it a little bit more, kind of like what we're talking about with recruiting and hunting for jobs. So one of the tenets of my personal marketing philosophy is this: who cares? I generate a lot of content, written copy, audio, video, graphics, that sort of thing. But every time I write something, I have to ask myself, will my audience care about this content? Am I serving their needs with it? Because if the audience realizes this is just another commercial, then they're going to disengage quickly. They've been trained over the years to realize that most advertising does not apply to most people. But if I can use humor to attract their attention, I just might earn more of their time, more of their attention, and maybe they'll watch and listen to the rest of my message. So that's the rationale I try to apply as often as I can. It's certainly the thought behind this next piece. I've got a little background for you. It's January of 2020, and I was asked to participate in a feature for that year's Addy Awards. And the Addies is a program of the American Advertising Federation. It celebrates great advertising at the local, regional, and national levels. So one of the people involved with the Addies show that year asked 3 other creatives and me if we would produce our own 90-second video about what inspires us creatively. And my first reaction to that request was, who cares? Why would the audience of creative people at the Addy Awards care about my approach to creativity? But I eventually agreed to do the video as long as I could handle it my own way. So I was counting on the fact that the other 3 creatives would take the assignment literally, that they would each talk about themselves and produce a video about their creative inspirations. But since I thought that watching 4 people talk about themselves is kind of a drag, I took a different approach.
I find a great deal of inspiration in art. Not only in the colors and texture and emotions of a painting, but in the size. For instance, with very large pieces, I like to imagine I could lift them, or I wonder how far I could carry a really big painting without dropping it. And then, if I did drop it, what would happen to it? Would the frame shatter? Would the canvas shred? Would I drop it on a sculpture and then cause that piece to fall over? If so, how far might the broken chunks of marble spray across the floor? And who would have to clean up that mess? And how much would all that damage cost? Could I get out of the museum without anyone knowing I was responsible? Even if I could, I'd have to consider that my actions were captured by video cameras. So, would I have to go into hiding to avoid the law? I'd need to find a safe house here in the city. Or I could look for a cave on the outskirts of town. I'm not even sure where the outskirts are. Where do the outskirts end and the suburbs begin? Then, how would I survive? Would I be forced to eat rats in my own shoes and drink my own urine, or worse, other people's urine? And how long would I have to stay away? How long could I last wearing the same clothes? I don't even like this shirt, and now I gotta wear it for the rest of my life? Art really gets me thinking.
So my primary goal with that piece was simply to entertain the audience, that's it. Just wanted to make them laugh. I got more positive feedback about that stupid video than just about anything I've ever done. The Addy Show audience laughed pretty much the entire time. That next year, the video won a Gold Addy Award and a Judge's Choice Award, went to the regional level where it won another Gold Addy Award, another Judge's Choice Award. It won a Platinum Marcom Award, and 3 years later, after we made that thing, people are still telling us how much they love that video. It literally happened the other day. And it all started by thinking differently, by not accepting the quote-unquote rules of making videos, or what was expected of us. And by thinking about the audience first, asking who cares, and then crafting content in response to that question. So here are a few of the comments that people wrote about that video. My Judge's Choice Award was the video entitled Creative Inspiration, and I loved how it was something that you don't see every day. It's always fun to see work that stretches your mind and makes you laugh a little bit. Hilarious, you love it. What a fun and creative way to start a conversation. So here's another example of someone who took what was expected, what was traditional, and pretty much threw it out the window. I've shared this many times because I love it so much. I've seen this described as a college entrance essay that was written by a guy named Hugh Gallagher when he was applying to New York University in 1990. And it's a great example of thinking differently about a task that probably all of you in this room have faced, a lot of people face. And here's what his entrance exam asked for. In order for the admission staff of our college to get to know you better, we ask that you answer the following question. Are there any significant experiences you've had or accomplishments you've realized that have helped to define you as a person? And this is the abridged version of what Hugh Gallagher wrote. I am a dynamic figure, often seen scaling walls and crushing ice. I woo women with my sensuous and godlike trombone playing. I am an expert in stucco, a veteran in love, and an outlaw in Peru. I play bluegrass cello. I'm the subject of numerous documentaries. I'm an abstract artist, a concrete analyst, and a ruthless bookie. Critics swoon over my original line of corduroy evening wear. I don't perspire. I am a private citizen, yet I receive fan mail. I bat .400. Children trust me. I sleep just once a week. The laws of physics do not apply to me. I balance, I weave, I dodge, I frolic, and my bills are all paid. Years ago, I discovered the meaning of life, but forgot to write it down. I breed prize-winning clams, but I have not yet gone to college. So Hugh Gallagher got into NYU and graduated in 1994, and his essay is still circulating online more than 30 years after he wrote it. Why? Because it's funny, and because, too, it is so different than what people expect in that kind of situation. In the online comments, a lot of people wrote things like, oh, I wish I had thought to make my essay that creative. And that's my whole point. That's the first step. You can do all that stuff. You can take a unique approach to presenting yourself anywhere. Social posts, an email reply, resume, portfolio, website, even an essay like that. Once you start actively looking for ways to apply creativity to your communication, you're going to do it more often. And when you work that muscle, your skills will grow stronger. So, what makes something funny? If you haven't yet applied humor to your work, you may not know how to practically do that. That could be an endless conversation, what makes something funny, but there are some basics to keep in mind. Number one being funny content is surprising. If you hear the same joke over and over and over again, you're not going to laugh at the punchline anymore because you see it coming. It's no longer surprising. So if your audience is expecting ABC, you give them XYZ to keep them off guard. When everyone else writes happy birthday, you write you're 1 year closer to never needing to buy another belt. Number 2, often funny content is truthful. What truths can you reference that your audience will relate to? Or what truths can you claim that other people may be too afraid to bring up? And on the flip side, funny content can also be a total lie. You might completely make up wild new concepts or situations that people laugh at simply because they're unbelievable. For instance. And 4, be self-deprecating. You can be your best source of humor. Poke fun at yourself and what you do so people know that you don't take yourself too seriously. That's going to help people relax around you and laugh with you. So this exercise can help you practice writing humor content if you'd like to try. Get yourself a common gray square like that, put 10, 15 minutes on the clock, and use that time to write every funny thing you can about that gray square. Maybe a challenge to some folks. There's not a lot going on with that image, so you need to think differently and write from a different angle. You might not normally consider these angles, but that's what you need to do. For instance, you could describe the gray square's personality or the lack of personality. What would the gray square say if it could talk? What type of jazz does the square prefer? Bebop or West Coast? Do its sharp corners make dating difficult? What does it taste like? Why did it leave home at age 12? What's the source of its evil smell? When you start to ask questions and change how you look at the assignment, you might be able to see how you can write funny or odd or unique things about that, and certainly about your own job search. So here's another way I like to generate humorous content. Business Voice is one of our agencies under the MadAv Group umbrella. Our main service is on-hold marketing. That's the stuff you hear when you get put on hold. But a subdivision of that is humor on hold. And when writing humor on hold copy, I might play with the conventions of marketing and advertising. Callers on hold already probably think they're going to hear some kind of marketing message. So I might start with words or cliches that are common to marketing. And then I twist those words a little bit and use them to describe a completely different product or service. So here's an example of that. It's kind of an extreme example. It's a small chunk of humor on hold that we produced for a company that repairs cars and boats.
Lakeland Auto and Marine is new and improved. We're now caffeine-free with more of the pain reliever doctors recommend. And when you combine our powerful cleansing crystals with 30% more genuine beef flavor, you'll enjoy the lightly scented auto and marine repair service that cleans pores deep down. Choose from 2 varieties, antifungal and scuff resistant.
So again, a lot of advertising conventions there, product type things that you might hear somewhere else, but certainly not associated with a car or boat repair place. So what are some other conventions you might play with when you're trying to market yourself or promote yourself in a humorous way? Parody can also be a rich source of humor. Just out of college, I created basically a wanted poster with my picture on it and used the copy to promote my radio and production work. And I used the style of a wanted poster, but it was basically all the things that I could offer to an employer on that poster. If you're a video producer, could you produce a infomercial parody for yourself, a movie trailer parody? For a client many years ago, I wrote and produced parodies of the educational films of the 1950s, and here's a sample of one of those.
Welcome to Metric Metals and You, the show that answers your questions about metric metals. With me once again is Ed Beam, Professor of Steelology at Parker Steel. Hello. Today's letter comes from Jimmy Hoop in Hollertown, and he writes, Dear Professor Ed Beam, how do I measure the flange on I-beams and channels? I'll hang up and listen for your answer. Professor?
Funny this question should come up, Steve. I was discussing this very topic with my wife last night.
She's lovely.
All right, that goes on for a couple more minutes, but anybody see the Three Stooges reference in there? Anyway. All right. Now this is a Humor on Hold production. It's a game show parody called Hold It. And again, I wrote this for Lakeland Auto and Marine. I'll play a few minutes of this for you.
It's time to play
Hold It!
Brought to you by Lakeland Auto and Marine, home of the Auto and Marine Parts Buffet. Now 40% less greasy. Here's your host, Rip Stevens. Thanks, Johnny, and welcome everyone to Hold It, the game you play while you're on hold. Here's how it works. You wait in the line for as long as it takes the person you're calling to pick up the phone. Until then, you'll have to face several challenges that will test your patience and your willingness to continue holding. If you make it all the way through, you'll get to talk with the person you're calling for. All set to play? All right, here's your first challenge. Listen to this 8th grade girl singing a solo at her school's talent show. Ready? And go.
Whoa, baby! Woo! Yeah, baby! Yeah, woohoo!
Just 5 more seconds.
L-A-K-E-L-A-N-D. Woo!
Nice work. That was truly horrible. A lot like the sound of the Lakeland Auto and Marine fellas working on exhaust systems as they do each weekday 8 to 5, Saturday 8 to noon. But you hung on. For your next challenge, I want you to close your eyes and imagine you're giving a full body massage to your grandmother. Ooh. Got that mental picture firmly locked in? Perfect. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, massage your grandmother. The lights are low, the candles have set the perfect mood, and there's lotion everywhere. That's it. Rub your grandma. Rub her till she moans with pleasure. Yes, right there. That's the spot. You're taking your relationship to an entirely new level now. Just 3 more seconds. And stop. Nice job. Grandpa who, am I right? Okay, wipe the imaginary massage oil from your hands. If you just joined us, this is
Hold It!
That's right, it's the game you play while you're on hold with Lakeland Auto and Marine. If you can stay in the line and endure the challenges, you just may get to talk with the person you called for, assuming he's not at lunch, or out sick today, or on the other line, or just avoiding your call. Hey, that sound of a large tree branch falling on your car hood means it's time to get to Lakeland Auto and Marine at 2305 East State Road in Port Clinton. And it's time to spin the physical challenge wheel. So let's give her a whirl. Lots of physical challenges on the wheel. You could be asked to walk on hot coals or forced to eat your pet, but this time the wheel is stopping on put your phone entirely in your mouth. Well, the wheel is spoken, so when the music starts, you'll have 5 seconds to shove your phone into your pie hole. Ready? And go. All right, did you get it in there? I can't see you, so I'll have to trust that you did it. Tell you what, why don't you wash your mouth out with bleach to kill those disgusting phone germs, and we'll take a quick break. This is the Hold It Network.
We're Lakeland Auto and Marine. We fix cars and boats and junk. If your stuff is broken or like whatever, come in or something.
Tim Nudd is an advertising critic, and he's the host of a great podcast that's called Tagline. And he wrote this: humor is underrated as a brand tool. If you can make people laugh, you're already halfway to making them loyal. That applies to you and applies to your personal brand too. Here's a similar idea that came from an award show judge. He was referring to one of our Humor on Hold productions, and he wrote this: superbly written copy, extremely dry humor that was a perfect match for what could have been a dull subject. I laughed out loud at times, and when a caller starts with that reaction, it's a great way to begin a conversation. Again, there's that idea of elevating kind of a drab situation. So always consider your audience. You might know that you have a unique talent or a tremendous work ethic, but the hiring team that you're talking with, that you're meeting with right now, might not be willing to take your word for it. So just like a big brand has to win customers, you have to capture the attention and interest of potential employers. Applying a funny approach to your marketing can say to employers that you put in the extra effort, that you think in a different way, and maybe even that you're a little brave because you're willing to do things in an unconventional way. The important takeaway is don't be afraid to try a different approach when communicating. A lot of marketing content out there that's safe and bland and offers uninspired messaging that just doesn't resonate. The people making those messages are often too focused on themselves and talking about themselves rather than entertaining or engaging the audience. The same goes for resumes. I wish I had 12 cents for every time I saw the same resume format and the same objectives and the same attempts to impress employers with jargon like this kind of thing. Outstanding communicator and performance-focused leader who provides blah, 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 blah. Jeez. So instead of that, why not tell a few concise but powerful success stories, or share some of those great testimonials that you've collected that prove how you helped as an employee or as a volunteer? And speaking of volunteering, I urge you to practice generosity. That means preparing or giving away your work and your time to volunteer for causes that you believe in. 2 reasons: to provide support for that organization, but also to expose your work to a broader audience and perhaps build a personal, professional network. You never know who's on the board of that organization, or you might end up working side by side with as a volunteer. And of course, that word gets around. 2, save all the volunteer work you do for 2 reasons. Number 1, you can show that work and your level of commitment to an organization to potential employers. And 2, you can see if you've grown. Ideally, you look back on your work from a year ago, 5 years ago, and you want to be embarrassed by it. Look back on your work 10 years ago and you kind of go, yeah, that's still pretty good. That may indicate that you haven't grown a whole lot or you haven't improved a lot. So it's good to be embarrassed by your old stuff. Asking for and using testimonials for your volunteer work. You might even establish that as a condition for volunteering up front. You'll volunteer in exchange for a nice testimonial on the company letterhead, right? And then use those reviews to promote yourself online. Let other people speak for you. I use client feedback all the time on my personal site. A few examples. We get people who call all the time and want to be put on hold. Congratulations on the Best of Show award. I was there when the judges played your on-hold messaging. Very creative. The judges said it was a great use of an underutilized medium. Funny and effective stuff. A couple more. The on-hold marketing scripts Scott creates are not only funny, but also informative. This is by far the best marketing money I've ever spent. When I would be at conventions, I'd tell people about our on-hold marketing. When I was in Vegas one time, I called the office and had myself put on hold so people at the convention could hear it. They were laughing because it was just so funny. This guy's in Las Vegas, for crying out loud. A lot of audible and visual stimulation out in Las Vegas. And he's calling Toledo to have himself put on hold. That's quite a statement. So look at how powerful it is when other people speak for you. If I were to say those things about our work or our company, you might logically assume that I was exaggerating or just flat out lying. But when you do work that's unique and creative, when you go above and beyond for your clients, for your employer, for your audience, they will speak for you willingly. I didn't ask for any of those comments. All of those clients and many others felt compelled to say those things on their own. So collect and use those testimonials as social proof that you do good work. All right, so to recap, whether you're interviewing, you're networking, you're marketing yourself or your business, or you're working with customers, actively look for opportunities to add creativity and specifically humor to your everyday communications. Your message, you have to remember, is competing with a lot of other media, a lot of other messages for your audience's time, their attention, their memory space, even their money. So make it easy for them to recall your message by presenting it in a unique and memorable way. Attention and interest can breed attention and interest. In other words, if you've shown yourself to be clever or creative or funny or interesting in the past, people are more likely to listen to what you have to say now and in the future. So invest in your own creative communication. Work at developing your style and then applying it whenever you can to surprise and delight people throughout your career and the rest of your life. I appreciate your time very much. Thank you.